This is Footy Talk, your place for the latest news, interviews and analysis from the world of AFL. And it is Tuesday, so I do have my great mate, Nick Riewoldt from the States, joining us. Happy Memorial Day, Rooey. Public holiday over there in America.
It is, Joey. Gee, you got the finger on your pulse. Just a man of, very, very cultured, know all the holidays. Memorial Day, so day off today, but good to make some time for you, my good friend, and get cracking into the big footy stories.
We will get straight into it. There's plenty happening as always, and we'll touch on something as well I noticed in the paper this week from your old mate Johnny Ralph. We'll get to that shortly, but we always start the week with a thought of the week. And just watching the footy on the weekend, and this has been a thing of mine that I'm all over for a long period of time. I love when coaches and teams evolve and make changes as the season goes on and find out what's capable with their list and what they can do. And I'm talking about when they make positional changes or do things that can help the team. So I looked at Zach Williams for Carlton on the weekend, and he'd been struggling as a halfback. Michael Voss decided to bring him in as a forward. And there's been a lot of talk about Carlton's forward line, who else can kick goals besides Curnow, Mackay. Zach Williams comes in and kicks 4 goals. I look at what the Sydney Swans, the best team in the competition, have done in recent weeks by finding a tagger in James Jordan to come from half forward and come in and sit on the opposition's best mid, and what that's been able to do for the Sydney Swans. Collingwood bringing Crisp as a permanent mid and side bottom to half-back. I love when coaches are creative and they try things and they evolve and they get better in season. And if your team and your coach is not doing that, then I think you are missing opportunities to get better. So it's just something I wanted to I noticed really and wanted to get off my chest when I watch teams. I love when coaches do that. It was, we look about Jordan Dawson last year and what that did for the Crows, and we can go through some stuff over the years, but I think it's a significant factor and I really enjoy it. So well done to Michael Voss and a few of the other teams. Well done.
Yeah, you've been big on this for a while now, Joey.
Yep.
You've been encouraging the moves, the shifting of the magnets.
Because you've got talent, you've got opportunity on your own list. You don't have to always bring someone in and trade for these players. You've just got to get creative with what you've got. You never quite know what's under the bonnet. I remember in our grand final, 2010, Ross Lyon threw Sam Gilbert forward and almost won the game for us. So sometimes you just got to look underneath the bonnet and see what you've got, and you can make some big changes. So I liked it. What about your thought of the week?
Well, I watched the Fremantle-Collingwood game and then the aftermath, obviously, with the free kick, which, let's be honest, it didn't decide the game, but it started the run for the Fremantle Dockers. And it was controversial because we just don't see that. Yes, I know, technically it's a rule, but we just don't see it all that often. So, okay, the umpires paid it. But what really fascinated me was in the aftermath, and there was, I thought, a great interview with Sarah, Ollie and Steve McBurney, which I just want you to take a little listen to, Joey.
So the essence of that rule is around time wasting. Do you think that was the player's intention though?
Well, we can't judge what the player's thinking. We can't be mind readers, but we need to judge the action. And the action had the effect of delaying the restart of play. And the umpire deemed that was time wasting and paid a correct free kick in the circumstances.
Okay, so I thought Sarah was great with her questioning there because in the actual question, she's used the word intent. So what was time wasting the player's intent? And the answer from the person that's running the umpiring department has said that, well, we're not mind readers, so we can't judge intent. All we can do is judge the action. Mm-hmm. So even when they're trying to explain inconsistencies within decision making, they're being inconsistent because we have a rule which is called insufficient intent in our game, where we are asking the umpires to judge intent. So they can't judge intent when it comes to time wasting like that situation, but guess what? They can judge intent when they're officiating insufficient intent, which happens all the time within the game. So even when they're trying to explain inconsistencies, they're being inconsistent and they're contradicting themselves and the very rules which they are employed to govern. So I thought it was an incredible interview from Sarah Ollie, and just no wonder the game is stuffed, Joey, when you've got the people that are officiating it contradicting themselves and the rules that they're meant to govern.
Very good take, Roo. No one has looked at that angle or thought about that, but that is spot on because McBurney's saying we can't judge the intent. So if you throw the ball to a player, we are just saying no matter what, that is holding the ball. But we will judge and we'll mind read a player's intent whenever they kick the ball forward and it goes towards the boundary line. And we will say that they have tried to not keep that ball in to a sufficient level.
Yep.
Interesting.
So we can't judge intent on some rules, but we can when it comes to insufficient intent.
Yeah, very good. I like it. Gee,
Oh,
strong.
when I heard that, I just thought, no wonder.
Yeah.
No wonder we sit here and we scratch our heads.
Yeah, well, very good point. Hey, well, then we talk about, while we're on umpire, we might have to chat about holding the ball. You did bring this to the table about 4 or 5 weeks ago. You said, Joey, I'm over here in the States, I'm watching footy, and because I'm not watching all the footy shows and all the commentary, I don't know what the hell is going on with holding the ball. Well, now it's starting to build a bit of momentum over here, Rooey. Everyone is chatting about it. Everyone seems to have an opinion. And now the coaches are getting frustrated with what is happening. My take, though, is simply the suggestions around the holding the ball and how there's over 100 tackles and only a couple of holding the balls paid and what is going on. I think people are slightly missing the point because right now there's only a few holding the balls paid because 90% of the tackles that are getting laid are when players don't have prior opportunity. Tackling is happening so quick because pressure has gone to an all-time new level, and the numbers will back it up. The team and players' intent to tackle and pressure, the speed and the fitness of the players' ability to want to tackle and pressure has never, ever been higher, and it's never been more important, really. The numbers are saying that if you can win the pressure battle, you're almost 80% chance of winning the game. So everyone wants the pressure, which means most of the time when a player picks up the ball, they don't have prior. So you can't get paid holding the ball in that situation as long as a player is just trying to make an attempt, which is what happens. So everyone's now talking about over here, you've got to blow the whistle quicker. But you've got to have a philosophy about it because if you blow the whistle quicker, you're either doing two things. You're either calling for more ball ups and we're going to have more stoppages, or you want to blow the whistle quicker and penalise a player for holding the ball that hasn't even had time to try and get rid of it. And then that's changing the whole philosophy of the game. For a poor player that goes and wins the footy, is tackled straight away, and then he is penalised, which goes against the fabric of protecting the player that wins the ball and goes against the fabric of allowing the player to at least try and make an attempt. So we've just got to make sure we have a clear understanding of where we want to go with this because everyone's got these opinions, but I don't know if it's been thought out well enough. The AFL and the umpires at the moment say it's not a problem. We know how to officiate it. I think fans and a lot of media commentators are forgetting that 90% of the tackles there is no prior, so you can't pay holding the ball. So that's what I think a big part of the frustration.
I think we know it when we see it, don't we? Like I feel like it's a bit of an eye test, and you're right. Like I feel like a lot of the time, like the noise of the crowd, anytime there's a tackle laid, I don't really feel like those situations take in prior opportunity, and when it's tackle on tackle on tackle, when the players are swarming and the pressure's coming. I think that they're a lot of the situations that we're talking about because the crowd gets riled up. They see one tackle go unrewarded, they see the next one go unrewarded, but in actual fact, you haven't had that prior opportunity. But I still think we're missing the odd one here or there, which when there's so much grey, is going to happen.
Which we probably have for 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
What is happening more than ever is players now fight the tackle. More players, or nearly every player, is trying to, when they do get tackled, they are trying to fight it and break it and get their hands free. So that is still not prior because you've got tackled straight away and you've got to have, the umpires are allowing them time to get the ball out. So if we want to change it and say you can't allow, we're not allowing you time to get rid of it, we're just going to ping another ball up. They could do that, but then we're going to have more ball ups. So
do you think there's a little bit lost in translation there? Because like the wording that, well, if you try to break the tackle or you try to free the arms or you try to fend, that's prior. Yeah. So anytime we look at a player that's trying to break through a tackle, even if he's just even if it's been a bang bang play, he's got the ball, the player's arrived, but he's still trying to fight it.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the lever that the AFL can pull with the communication, that it's not just about if you are trying to break the tackle, that's your prior opportunity. I think we can get a little bit more granular on the wording there and the way we communicate that, which would make it easier to understand.
Yeah, there's plenty of nuance in it because you're right. Because then if they keep pinging them as holding the ball, what players will do is as soon as they're tackled, they will just take the tackle and they'll just go to the ground and it'll be another ball up because they'll stop trying to fight it. So that the philosophy of wanting the play to continue to move on, it's just it's something that everyone is just a bit confused about, and I don't think there's going to be any clarity on that anytime soon. Hey, we'll move on because we have to chat about our Saints. They hit an all-time low on Sunday. I was at the MCG, Rooey, and they just never looked like it. Right from the start, they were missing kicks. They weren't sure how to connect going forward. The midfield, we're getting beaten up. Rowan Marshall got beaten by Max Gawn. what's real and what's not with St Kilda. Even I'm struggling now in regards to last year. This team played finals, and then this year they don't even look like it. From your point and your perspective, what do you see is real, and what is the way forward here for St Kilda?
Yeah, they're spiralling now. That's what I see. I see a young group that's lost complete confidence in themselves. And I think that's true of players like Filippo and some of those guys now that are struggling to see the heights. And they're also facing, for the first time in their very young careers, because you don't deal with this until you reach the AFL, they're dealing with negative criticism. And what that does to you in your alone time, when you're at home and you can avoid it all you like, it has a way of finding you. Some of these guys are spiralling, and you go into survival mode, and that's what it looks like is occurring. As much as we know Ross, and I'm not here to be an apologist for Ross, but Ross coach teams are always about being selfless and playing your role. But when you've got a young group that are spiralling and losing confidence and worrying and becoming insular about their own form, this is what happens with any young team. It becomes about survival mode. It becomes about what I'm doing, about being insular and what's happening right in front of me, and you can see it in the way they're playing. So it is hard to pull yourself out of when you're in this frame of mind. And he's going to have to go into his bag of tricks, Rossi, and he's going to rely really, really heavily on the senior players from here on out.
Yeah, the senior players are going to have a massive role, because you're right. They need to start. It's the best teams look outwards and look at supporting each other. But when you do struggle, you look inwards, and then it does fall apart.
Yep. And you can see it. Like I want to go back to the Fremantle-Collingwood thing for just an example of what that looks like, looking outwards. So as soon as that free kick was awarded to Fremantle, right in front of goals, I just looked at Nick Dacos and his reaction, and to me it just reeked of leadership. There was like the immediate, and then straight away he was into, all right, set up, refocus, reset up. Like you could hear it on the umpire's mic. So even the very youngest of players are capable of leading and showing the way, and that's what it looks like when you are thinking outwards as opposed to insular. I thought it was awesome leadership from Nick Dacos.
Yeah, spot on. Good point. And St Kilda have got some work to do. They are sitting down the bottom four. Massive game against the West Coast Eagles. If West Coast beat them, they jump ahead of them on the ladder.
Yikes. Speaking
of the ladder, Rooey, there's a real, I suppose, a bit of an anomaly where Essendon are sitting second on the ladder with the lowest percentage for a side second spot on the ladder since Western Bulldogs in 1997. Is that still what's allowing the question mark to linger about Essendon, and whether this is a team that are good enough to win a final, because they've got a massive test on Sunday night against the Gold Coast Suns on the Gold Coast, where if you are a top 2, top 4 team, you would go there expecting to beat Gold Coast. But we'll find out more about the Bombers this weekend, you think?
Yeah, it sort of feels like a bit of a who's real cup, because we've been asking the questions of the Gold Coast from time to time this year, and some of their really strong performances, and then how they stack up with some of the performances of some of the other top teams, and yeah, absolutely for Essendon. Because, they've done all they can do. They've played really good footy against the teams that they've been put up against, but you still feel like that signature win to really justify the position on the ladder, and when I say justify, it's really more about putting the critics to bed and silencing some of those doubters, and maybe internally they have some of those question marks as well. But again, all they can do is what they've done so far. So look, I think it shapes up as an absolute beauty. If they're the real McCoy, it's away from home. With Gold Coast, we know play really well at home. Conditions are always a little bit tricky, particularly for those night games, and they go up there and it's not just about winning. It's about the way they go about it and the way they get it done and the maturity that they show. So excited to see what they bring this week, but Brad Scott's got them doing all the right things.
Yeah, spot on. I think if they can beat Gold Coast up there, this will solidify them as a genuine finals contender, and they're as good a shot as anybody else outside of the Sydney Swans, but always tough. Gold Coast have been winning at home. This is a bit of the Suns' lot at the moment. They're very good at home, and they're a pretty good team, but they can't get it done on the road yet or against really strong opposition. So we'll find out more about Gold Coast as well. Hey, we will take a break. We want to get into real talk, shit talk straight after this. But if you are listening on Spotify, please hit the bell and be notified when we drop a new episode. This is Footy Talk. If you want to get involved, make sure you send us a message on Instagram at Footy Talk Pod. I'm here with Rooey. Hey, Rooey, before we get into real talk, shit talk, I like this in the paper. Johnny Ralph, he wrote a beautiful piece, actually, really nice piece about the most influential figures at each AFL club since 2000. You know, there were some big names in there, and looking at Lee Matthews at Brisbane and his impact and all these sorts of things. And then it got to St Kilda. And was this a little bit of a suck-up job from Johnny Ralph after he threw you under the bus and said that you never return any of Max King's calls? Because he put you, Nick Riewoldt, as St Kilda's most influential figure since 2000. What about that?
Oh, I think Rossi might have something to say with that, but very, there's been some big behind the scenes players down there as well, Joey. But that's maybe a little square up from Ralphie, who's a good man. Ralphie and I get along really well, but it's probably shit talk, which leads us into our very famous segment as well, Joey. Real talk, shit talk. I'll kick it off.
Righto.
I'll start with one for you, Rory Lobb. He's been around the traps, and there's now talk of him going to a fourth club. Well, it seems all but a certainty. There is going to be a long list of clubs lining up for his services.
No, that's shit talk. I'm not sure why clubs would be lining up to get Rory Lobb. A 30-year-old who I look at and think is unreliable, untrustworthy. Yep. He's been a very blame-driven sort of player. He's now blaming the Western Bulldogs. He blamed Fremantle. He's got a manager that leaks. I just don't see why clubs would want to take a risk with a 30-year-old. He
makes real bad TikToks.
Yeah, does all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all that rubbish.
And he's a ruck forward who doesn't want to ruck.
Yeah.
I'd be very wary of a club going for Rory Lobb. We know that he's
on
tall
big shushka.
Yeah, decent money. You know, he's turning 30. I'd be very careful if I was a club with Rory Lobb. I mean, it says probably more about him than these teams that he continues to blame. It's it's a bit of a bugbear of mine. Hey, there's been a lot of talk, Rooey, about Nathan Buckley is looking like being the man to be Tassie's first AFL coach. Real talk, shit talk.
Real.
You like it?
I love it. I think that would be a fantastic acquisition. I've worked with Bucks. I've gotten to know him really, really well. He's a great person. I think he's sort of like the evolution of him from player to coach to media commentator and person more broadly has been amazing to see. I mean, he's an Elliot Yeo amazing kick a goal away from being a premiership coach, so he can coach.
Yep.
And I think Bucks at times the reason he gets a bit of a bad rap as a coach is because of a certain segment of Collingwood players that like to hang it on him from time to time, which that's what guys are going to do.
Yep.
The Rat Pack, they like to hang it on Bucks, but. No, I think it'll be a great acquisition. Football person, big personality. He's very well balanced, I think, as a person. So I think it'll be a great acquisition if that's on the money. So real talk for me, Joey.
Good one.
Hey, Jake Stringer just played his 200th game on the weekend. His season this year for the Bombers has been very underrated.
Yeah, that's real talk, Rooey. There are some players it doesn't always have to be on the stat sheet or the best and fairest results to have massive impact. This guy has massive impact on this football club. He has swagger, he has presence, and he has impact. And when he plays well, this Essendon side play well. I think sometimes he's been harshly judged, I should say, and they look at his best and fairest results and, some of his form. But these guys that are match winners, they aren't the players that play well every single week, and their position makes it hard as well. But Jake Stringer is having a real influence. He's been a real good acquisition for Essendon, I think, since he's been there. He's played some great footy. He does it in patches. At some points, he's looked like a top 10 player in the game. Loving his season, and he's been a big part of Essendon's revival this year. Hey, very good by you, Rooey. That will do us today for Footy Talk. You'll let you get back to your Memorial Day celebrations. Just remember, tomorrow, Abby Holmes will join Jack Heverin and Dave Zaharakis as they take a look from a player's point of view. Until then, thanks for your time. Enjoy your Tuesday. Thanks for watching Footy Talk. Subscribe to the channel to watch myself and Rooey every Tuesday.